Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome to our Shabbat service. I am so delighted to welcome my co-leader, Rabbi Sonia Saltzman. She's no stranger to Newbridge. She's been here many times, but I'll just tell you a little bit about her background. For me, one of the most significant parts is that we went through rabbinical school together at Hebrew College and experienced many learning experiences together, including, as a matter of fact, learning to lead Kabbalat Shabbat, this evening service. We would partner together to practice. Sonia was once we were ordained, Sonia was the senior rabbi at Temple Ohavei Shalom in Brookline. And 2 years ago, she stepped down. And since then, she's been teaching Torah in various settings, among them right here at Newbridge. Last year, she was with us for the communal Hanukkah dinner and did a wonderful program about Hanukkah. And on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, she was here with us and gave the sermon. She has taught Torah study and a Talmud class and feels like she knows Newbridge, and that's a wonderful thing. It's great to have you back. Normally at this time, before we actually begin the service itself, I mention losses in our community. And although there have not been any losses that I am aware of directly in congregation Newbridge or Newbridge in general, it is 9/11. And that is a loss for all of us, a loss perhaps of naivete, a time of trauma that 19 years ago, it's hard to believe that that's where we are now, but indeed we are. And whether people have lost people that were near and dear to them, or whether we've just lost an image of a peaceful world where we were safe in America, this is a very sobering day for us to remember. And perhaps in light of COVID, it seems smaller, but I think they're very different types of situations. And I want to take this moment to make note of where we are and without words. Let us switch gears, and Rabbi Sonia will now light the Shabbat candles.
Before I do, I just want to say that I am so pleased to be here with you. And like Rabbi Judy said, I've been there present at Newbridge in various occasions, and I'm trying to envision as I light these candles and as I go through the service, your faces, and hopefully very soon we'll be able to gather in person.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen.
I'm now moving the candles to a safe place right here by my side.
And we're going to turn now to page 2 for Hine Matov. I love that we begin our service with Hine Matov, how good it is for siblings to be sitting together And in this virtual situation, although we are sitting on couches or standing or reclining in many different apartments, nonetheless, we are together here as a congregation, and we're welcoming this moment of togetherness.
שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד.
And now let's turn to page 4 for Lechun Ranana, which is Psalm 95.
Ranana l'Adonai, V'ya letzur yishenu, Nekatma panav betoda, Bismirot narialo. Arbaim shana akul pador bahumaram toelevav vehem lo yadu derachai asher nishpati beapi im yevon el menuchati.
This week I will read an interpretive translation of Psalm 96 by Ron Fisher. I sing a new song to you, and the earth sings too. I sing, and my song blesses your unsayable name, day by day, announcing the utter presence of things, day by day, evoking your glory among the nations, calling forth your miracles among all the peoples. You are each place and each thing, and nowhere and everywhere. No praise and all praise, no words and all words. For it is beyond what can be seen and known, inconceivable, you of the eyeless heaven. Grandeur and majesty surround you, who are scored and marked with light. Everyone, listen. Recognize this light and this power. Bathe your face in the luminous circle of its named namelessness. Place your body there. Make of it a gift. I offer you this life in the beauty of the dappled world, trembling before you, earth's utter presence. And now we'll continue with Psalm 29. Yes, on page 9. Yes, page 9 for Psalm 29.
Abu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, Abu l'Adonai kavod ba'oz, Abu l'Adonai kevod shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod, shirim Adonai al מים רבים, כל אדוני בכוח, כל אדוני בהדר, כל אדוני שובר ארזים, וישבר אדוני את ארצי הלבנון, וירקידם כמו עגל לבנון וציריון כמו קדש, כל אדוני יכיל מדבר, יכיל אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני יכולל איילות, ויחסו יערות. ובהיכלו כולו מרכבות. אדוני למבול ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום.
And now we turn to page 11 for Lecha Dodi, and it's our custom to sing verses 1, 2, 5, 8, and 9. So let's begin.
Lecha Dodi likratala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likratala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad ishmianu, el hameyuchad Adonai echad, u'shemo echad keshem u'tiferet. Ve'elitchila lecha dodi likratala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor haberachah merosh mikdem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha dodi likratala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Ittoreri, ki ba'ore, umiori, uri, shidaberi, kevod Adonai, alaik niglal. Lecha dodi likratala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Yamim u'smol tivrotzi v'et Adonai, taretzi al yapenish, artzi v'nizmecha, v'nagila. Lecha dodi likratala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Oy beshalom aderet ala, gam besimcha u'betzola tov emunei am segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Lecha dodi likratala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
On page 13, we'll now read the Psalm 92 in the interpretive translation, a song for the Sabbath day. If you have a book or you know it by heart by now, please join me. It is good to give thanks to the Eternal and to sing praise to the great name, to tell about your love in the morning and your faithfulness every night, with the 10-stringed harp and the lute in song and meditation. For I delight in your world, source of joy, in your deeds, in the works of your hands. How great are your designs, Creator! They are beyond our comprehension. The foolish do not perceive this. The shallow cannot understand. Though the wicked flourish like the weeds, though they spring up like grass, they will be cut down. For you shine on high forever. Behold, your enemies shall perish. The evil ones will fall apart. You lift me. You increase my strength like the wild ram. I am fragrant with oil. I have seen the defeat of my enemies and heard the doom of my attackers. The righteous flourish like palm trees. They grow tall like cedars in Lebanon. Planted in the dark soil of the Holy One, they blossom in the courtyard of our God. Even in old age, they bear fruit. They are green and full of vigor, proclaiming that the source of life is just, our rock, whose way is perfect. And on the left side of page 14, let's sing Tzadik Katamar.
Tzadik Katamar Yiftach Ge'eretz Balbanon Yizgeh Shetulim Bebeit Adonai Bechazrot Eloheinu Yavivu Oyenu Meseva Deshenim Verananim Iyu Lehagi Ki Yashar Adonai Zuri Belvo Avlat
We turn to page 15 now for the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadal veyitkadash Shemei Rabbah
Amen.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי ככל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב בהימרו
Amen.
יהי שמרה במבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי וקודשה
בריחו
לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא והימרו
Amen.
There are so many interesting themes in this week's Torah portion, but what is most compelling to me is that as a woman, I'm right there in the text. The text opens with the words, Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem, meaning you stand this day, all of you, before God. All of us were there, says the Torah, to reaffirm the covenant entered into at Sinai. It goes on to list those presents in order of their social status: tribal heads, elders, officials, all the men of Israel, children, wives, and the stranger. True, women are sandwiched between the children and the stranger and referenced in relation to men, meaning we're listed as wives, but we're there nonetheless. What's also interesting is that this covenant includes not only those who were there, but future generations as well. The text says, I make this covenant not with you alone, but with those who are standing here with us this day and with those who are not with us here this day. The covenant is intended for each of us in our own time. It's an invitation to each and every one of us to add our voice, to forge our own relationship to God and Torah. This year, I'm especially drawn to this passage. Events this summer have brought to the foreground the ways in which inclusion, regardless of the group that has been disenfranchised, is rarely a one-time event, but rather a process that unfolds over time. I'd like to share with you 3 situations. The first, a personal one, and the other, 2 public events that speak to the unfolding of this process. This Yom Kippur, I was invited to deliver a sermon at a liberal community in Santiago, Chile, via Zoom, of course. While here in this country, the inclusion of women in the rabbinate has been moving forward since 1973, when women were first ordained by the Reform movement. I was reminded that elsewhere, women in the rabbinate are a rarity. I was reminded of this when I heard their excitement. Most of the community in Santiago has never met a woman rabbi. So as you might imagine, I am thrilled to provide that experience for them. It's interesting that the conservative movement in Latin America has for quite some time felt comfortable using instruments in the service, but it has been reluctant to fully include women in the worship service. The conservative seminary in Latin America ordains women, but many communities aren't ready to accept them as pulpit rabbis. Inclusion is a work in process. The other event that highlights this, that inclusion is a process, is the centennial this past August of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. While the ratification led to the largest infusion of new voters in American history, it left many women out. As we know, many African American women didn't experience true suffrage until the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And today we continue to grapple with the full inclusion of women in society. We continue to grapple with issues of equal pay, equal representation in the public square, among many other issues. Inclusion is a work in process. This summer, we were also reminded of the ways in which the inclusion of African Americans is very much of a work in process. A few years ago, I had the honor of hosting at my shul Brian Stevenson, the well-known African American lawyer, activist, and author of the book Just Mercy. Stevenson's message is that racism didn't end in 1865. It merely evolved. The ideology of white supremacists is still with us. Stevenson argues that the great evil of American slavery wasn't the involuntary servitude. It was the fiction that Black people aren't as good as white people, that they aren't the equals of white people. What we're seeing today, says Stevenson, is a symptom of this larger disease. Inclusion is indeed a work in process, and it requires that we remain vigilant of old patterns and old ways of thinking. May we stand today among those who open doors and guard the sacred process of enriching both our tradition and our society by ensuring that all voices are heard.
Yasher Koach. Thank you so much, Rabbi Sonia. We will continue now with the Mariv service, the evening service on page 16. This is a moment for rising in spirit or in body.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
On page 16, let's read together. You bring on evenings. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe. Your word brings on evenings. With wisdom, you open heaven's gates. With understanding, you change fixed times and alternate the seasons and arrange the stars in their places in the sky according to your will. Creator of day and night, rolling light before darkness and darkness before light. You cause day to pass and bring on night and distinguish between day and night. God of all forces is your name. God, living and enduring, always rule over us forever and ever. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evenings. And now page 17, Ahavat Olam.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה. באהבתך אל תשים ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Page 18, Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשופטך ובקומך וקשרתם להוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
And now, instead of reading the second paragraph of the Shema, because I know many of you don't have a book, and also many of you are not in the habit of reading the second paragraph because it is very troubling. It's about reward and punishment. I would like to read two commentaries from the Lev Shalem prayer book as follows on this paragraph. Quote, if you will hear, an interpretive translation. If you faithfully obey my laws today and love me, I shall give you your livelihood in good time and in full measure. You shall work and reap the results of your labor, satisfied with what you have achieved. Be careful, however. Let not your heart be seduced, lured after false gods, seeking alien ideals, lest God's image depart from you and you sink, becoming desolate and lose your joyous God-given heritage. And now a commentary on this paragraph, which is so challenging because we know life is not always reward and punishment that seem obvious, and many feel that it shouldn't be in the prayer book. But Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote a very interesting commentary. He focuses on the angle of punishment, of God's anger. And he writes, the prophets never thought that God's anger is something that cannot be accounted for, unpredictable, irrational. It is never a spontaneous outburst, but a reaction occasioned by the conduct of man. Man's sense of injustice is a poor analogy to God's sense of injustice. The exploitation of the poor is to us a misdemeanor. To God, it is a disaster. Our reaction is disapproval. God's reaction is something no language can convey. Is it a sign of cruelty that God's anger is aroused when the rights of the poor are violated, when widows and orphans are oppressed? There is an evil which most of us condone and are even guilty of, indifference to evil. We remain neutral, impartial, and not easily moved by the wrongs done unto other people. Indifference to evil, more insidious than evil itself. We'll continue with the Shema in the third paragraph. It is on page 20, line 4, Leman Tizkaru.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Adonai Elohechem Emet.
And now we turn to page 21 for Mi Chamocha, beginning at the little diamond just above the third paragraph from the bottom.
ומלכותו ורצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל, לכענו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם. מי כמוך פעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, מלכותך ראו בניך, הים לפני משה, צדי צדי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פתה אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גל ישראל.
On page 22, let us read together, Lay us down in peace. Lay us down, Adonai our God, in peace, and awaken us, our ruler, to life, and spread over us your sukkah of peace, and help us with your good counsel. And spread over us and help us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us and remove from us enemy, disease, and sword, and hunger and sorrow, and remove the evil forces from before us and from behind us, and in the shadow of your wings shelter us. For God, you watch over us and rescue us. For God, you are a gracious and merciful ruler. Watch over our going and coming, for life and for peace, from now until forever, and spread over us your sukkah of peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, the one who spreads a sukkah of peace over us and over all your people Israel and over Jerusalem. And now we are at Vishamru on page 23. Please rise in spirit or in body.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
We turn now to page 25 for the Amidah. We will begin by chanting the first 3 verses together. We will continue in silent prayer or meditation, and then we'll join together on page 31 for Oseh Shalom. So let us begin now with the Amidah.
Adonai שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. O God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וסוחר השדה אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה לרב להושיע, מוריד הקל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך מניף ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יחללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. הוא עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
We'll turn now to page 130 for the Mishaberach. Before we say the prayer for healing, as always, we have a prayer for those who are tending the sick. And I want us to bring to mind all of those who are not only tending the sick, but maintaining hospitals and nursing homes and retirement communities, and so many different lines of work that keep our society functioning during this time. And although, thank God, things in Massachusetts are much better right now, we know that that is not the case in other parts of this country, not the case in Israel at all, and many other parts of the world. And so the prayer for the healers is indeed a prayer that is very much needed at this time when still so many people need medical care. And so we pray for their safety. And now the prayer for healing. I invite you to think about people who you are praying will be healed, including perhaps yourself. And I will pause at that moment for saying aloud the name or holding it in your heart. מי שברח אבותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, ואמותינו שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים. חיה בת נחמה. הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם, להחלימם ולרפאותם, להחזיקם ולהחיותם, וישלח להם מהרה רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, השתה בעגלא ובזמן קריב, ונאמר Amen. And now we'll sing the Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Mekor Abraha Leimoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imoteinu Mekor Habracha Lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We'll turn now to page 41. That is, we're turning back to page 41. Again, a time for rising in spirit or in body. And as has become our new tradition, I will open the ark for the first part of the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו ככם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגוהל מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
And now the mourner's Kaddish. I have a few names to mention. Jack Berenholtz's father's Yortzeit, Yitzchak ben Yaakov, Isaac Berenholtz. And Emma Gould's late husband, Lenny Gould, whose Yortzeit is also now, Eliezer Chai ben Yehuda, Leonard Abraham Gould, and all those who perished on this day 19 years ago on 9/11. May their memories be a blessing to all of us. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach chiruteh ve'yamlich malchuteh, b'chai echon u'b'yom echon u'b'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'b'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehe shemei Rabbah mevorach leolam olmei olmaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal, shemei dekudusha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'alma, v'imru Amen. Yehe shelama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו amen. Announcements. First of all, thank you so much, my dear friend Rabbi Sonia, for leading today with me. It was such a joy to have you here.
It's been a joy for me as well. Thank you for this opportunity.
It's, I'm sure, a joy for everyone who is with us in this service now. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock is the Shabbat morning service with Rabbi Karen. And on Wednesday at 11 will be the Torah study group. And you have already received a schedule for the high holiday times. And I would love to remind you of what it is, but honestly, I can't remember the exact times exactly. But there will be an early Erev Rosh Hashanah service next Friday afternoon, and then there will be a regular, that will be led by Rabbi Karen. I will be leading a service which I believe is from 5 to 6, but check the schedule, please. It will be here on channel 918. And there is going to be I will be hosting a communal Rosh Hashanah dinner on Zoom. So that I know also went out yesterday. Please feel free to join and to eat your dinner together with me. Of course, we can't schmooze around the table like one would normally do if we were in Great Meadow Hall, full of our friends and families, a full banquet here, but I will have a group conversation. People will have a chance to talk with each other and to enjoy your dinner. It's a bring your own dinner kind of dinner, of course. I won't be cooking for everyone, perhaps another time. And I hope you will join me for that. And then on Rosh Hashanah morning, both days, first day and second day, at 10 o'clock, there will be a Rosh Hashanah service with Rabbi Karen and me and Cantalisa. And then on the second day, there will also be a service which will be a little shorter than the day before. They'll be slightly different. Since Rosh Hashanah, the first day, occurs on Shabbat, we will have a abbreviated shofar service, because some people are in the tradition of doing it even on Shabbat, and others are in a tradition of not hearing the shofar on Shabbat. So we'll do an abbreviated one as a compromise to keep everyone having a bit of what they want. And then on the second day, we will have a full shofar service. On the afternoon of the first day of Rosh Hashanah, which will be Saturday the 19th at 3:30, we will be having a live Zoom Torah reading. So I hope you will join me on Zoom and that there'll be lots of faces, at least a minyan for reading Torah, as well as all of you watching on 918 although if you are on Zoom, you can't watch 9:18 at the same time. But I hope that you will come and we will be able to do that together. Details for Yom Kippur we'll talk about the following week. I think that covers my announcements for the week, and we will conclude our Shabbat service with Adon Olam on page 45, but don't go away afterwards. There will be Kiddush and Hamotzi, and you're certainly welcome to raise a glass of wine, have some challah when we make the blessings. So let's turn to page 45 and sing Adon Olam.
אדון עולם אשר מהלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפשו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד בין שני, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, בלא העוז והמזרח, בלא העוז והמזרח, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, בצור חפלי בצרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא, בידו אכית רוחי, בעת תישן בעירה, ועם רוחי גבייתי, אדוני לי בלא יירא, אדוני לי בלא יירא.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So now we're going to have Kiddush. Rabbi Sonia has Kiddush ready, and I have
as well
those little cups of wine that we would enjoy together, and someday we still will.
ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחול אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סברי.
לחיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קישרנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תהילה למקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל עמים, בשבת קדשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. And now hamotzi. Unfortunately, I don't have a place to cut the challah in view. So here are the chalot. And Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom, dear friends, a pleasure. You.